let's look at practice leverage, because there's a lot of practitioners out there we know that have a full practice, have been doing this successfully, and are now looking to actually hire other people. So let's talk a little bit about this, and we're going to look at ways to do this digitally, and we're also going to be looking at ways to do this within the practice, and again talking to pros who have done this and built big practices, built in some cases significant franchises. So there's a few different ways to leverage your practice. The first is the traditional hiring others. So hiring other people, hiring an associate or another practitioner into your practice. And, there's a lot of value to this, but there's also a lot of potential headaches to this. I think it's probably the least easy of each of these things that we're going to talk about today. But we will be providing training for practitioners on how to find the right people, how to partner. I mean, how many practitioners I've heard of who have had sort of nightmare relationships with practitioners where they've started a wellness center and they brought in all these other practitioners, and then these practitioners just end up sort of mooching off them. In this hiring others, we're going to talk about how to set up a system where everyone has an opportunity to build their own business, and those that work hard and provide value to the company can make more money. I mean, I think that, if you're looking for, as a business owner, you want to be working with other people with a sort of a business owner, entrepreneur mentality. And we're going to talk about how to find those people and how to train people to operate in that way. And we're actually working with a couple of clinics here in Manhattan that have been implementing this type of system and have just found that, when you get the right people on the right seats on the bus, amazing things can happen. So we'll be interviewing practitioners about that. We'll be interviewing practice managers about that, about how they've been able to incentivize their staff to be able to do more, to sell more, to develop more. And I think that's going to be, I'm really excited about that one.
Yeah, that's great. And the other thing that you mentioned before to me, James, with hiring others is that in order for someone to want to come into your practice, you have to be generating leads already. So, you still have to have be utilizing these other tools in order to have that lead generation coming in, those people ready to for these new practitioners to work with.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're not going to find the right people who are really excited as well.
Well, what kind of massage therapist is willing to work at Massage Envy and make $20 an hour? The same as a manager at McDonald's. The kind of massage therapist that is not capable of creating their own leads. They just want to turn up, do their thing, and go home. And I think for most of you who are on this call today, if you've been attracted by this, it's because you see the value in developing over and above leads to what you're currently providing so that you can have this sort of vision. And it's pretty exciting, and if you get everything else right in this, then you're starting to develop something valuable and
sustainable.
And sustainable, exactly. All right, the second way to leverage your practice is retail and product sales. Now, this is a huge area for practitioners. I work with a lot of practitioners that, a decent percentage, maybe even up to 80% of their income comes from product sales. But I think we're only just touching really the beginning of what retail could be done by practitioners. So many practitioners. I saw a stat the other day that was 13% of primary care doctors in America carry supplements in their practice. That's of traditional primary care doctors, but 77% make some sort of nutritional recommendation. So you're sitting in a situation here where you have 66% of primary care doctors who, if you take a step back, are uncommissioned salesperson for Walmart or for their local health food store, but more likely Walmart or more likely Costco, because in Costco you can get a barrel of CoQ10 for $20. Who knows what's in that crap? But that's what's happening. So we're going to talk about effective ways to do retail and to get the best products. Most of you on this line know what good products are. And so we're going to help you to look at ways to either retail within your clinic more effectively. I think that the retail, in-clinic retail, we've only just scratched the surface, and we know people from the spa industry who are experts on this. There are people who want to develop online stores. And again, online store is great, but how are you driving traffic to your website? That's all about what we spoke about earlier. There's different ways to be able to develop sustainable income streams through product sales.
What was the stat that you've shared before about the rebooking rate when people purchase products?
There you go. That's a great point. In the spa industry, they say that if someone buys 1 or 0 products at the time of checkout, along with their service, say like a facial or a massage, there's a 30% chance that they come back. If they buy 2 products, it's 60%, and if they buy 3 products, it's a 90% chance that they come back. So this is a no-brainer on a lot of levels, and people need a lot of help, and you guys are the experts. I think, you know, just making ways to make sure that people are buying the best quality products is huge. We're going to talk about little ways to be able to do that on the Inner Circle membership. All right, the third way to leverage your practice is information products. And again, this is similar, almost like a sort of an updated version of a lead magnet. If you read books by big-time entrepreneurs over the last little while, they'll tell you that their mind about business totally changed when they first sold something that they didn't have to sort of swap their time or money for. When they first sold their first ebook on allergies or whatever. I think there's definitely different ways to do this. But look at our industry. Look at people like, JJ Virgin, those kind of people. I mean, she's making tons of money, and she's doing these teleclasses, creating information products. A lot of it's organized, and people are looking for this kind of stuff. So if you have a particular niche, if you have a particular message to share, I'd highly recommend to look at creating information products. We have clients that sell things for as little as what? $3, $5. But, there's always the potential that Ashton Kutcher will take your protocol and tweet about it, and suddenly you might have, 1 million people who want to do it. That's the potential, and that's really what we're talking about here, is that if you don't have an infrastructure of something to sell, then, you'll never find out what it's like to have that. Whereas if you can get yourself an infrastructure, then you can start to look at ways to develop, driving traffic and creating and selling these information products. And the information gap between natural health and between what people understand about health and what people know right now is so massive. Just help to fill in a little bit of that gap somewhere along the line, create those touch points, and I think you'll have a lot of success.
Yeah, I want to talk about information products a little bit, because I spend a lot of time in this world. And information products are really big because what you see now is there's not as many barriers to sharing information. Now, information, there's a lot of free stuff out there, of course, and there's a whole practice around giving little tidbits of free information to get them to buy into something bigger. But information products are perfect if you are looking to really move more onto an online business, or just to spend less time, like James was saying, trading your time for money, because there's so much information that you have that if you sat down and looked at ways that your target audience would want to digest this information, you would be surprised. Sorry, let's make sure we plug in his computer so we don't have lose any data here. So things like ebooks, audio training, education courses. There's so many cool little education series that you could do. You could start online webinars and then record them and sell them. You could start your own membership for things like we're going to talk about here with group programs that people buy into. You could do it through newsletters. You could do it through just having an online store. And it doesn't have to be complex. But I am highlighting this because I've spoken to a few people recently, a few practitioners recently, who are really interested in moving to more online practice and really getting out of brick and mortar a little bit more. So if that's you, really pay attention to these information products and think about what you have that's running around in your brain, all sorts of great information, who your target audience is, and the way that they would consume that information.
That's a great point. All right, I want to talk a little bit about group programs, because I think this is an area where practitioners have really a massive opportunity, frankly. Group programs, we're seeing this with group detox programs, other kind of group programs, but let me just take a step back and talk a little bit about Weight Watchers, for instance. Weight Watchers is not a very good clinical program. I'm sure most of you would agree on that. But why are they so successful? They're successful because they develop these groups of a community. And people who are doing this well are actually able to get a lot of leverage. I work with we work with some practitioners in LA, and the first year they did their group detox, it was 10 people, then it was 30 people, now it's like 150 people. 150 people times $300 to be in the group program, where you're only spending 1 hour a week doing it. You can see that there's huge leverage for a practice to be able to develop a group program. Now we're going to take this a step further in our Inner Circle membership, and we're also going to teach you about how to develop a group program that's sellable, that's creating its own equity. If you call it Dr. Smith's Group Detox, then if you try and sell it to another doctor or another practitioner, it's got Dr. Smith written all over it, and it's entrenched with Dr. Smith. Whereas let's just say your group detox was called the Brooklyn Detox Challenge or something like that. The internet businesses are the easiest to sell because if you have an e-newsletter list, if you have a history of income coming in, if you have dedicated clients who are dedicated to doing this over and over again, you can sell. You can develop equity very quickly. The life cycle of developing a business, funding it, and then selling it is much, much smaller than it's ever been before in the internet world, and you can sell it for a lot more. Your practice is, unless you've built it in a very specific way, is pretty unsellable, because the way that they work out what your practice is worth is they take you out of the equation and they see what would be left. And in most holistic practitioners that I've seen, there's not a lot left. If you leave, you're the main source of income, you're the main source of product sales, so there's not really a lot of equity that's being developed through your practice. So developing some sort of group program is a great way to develop really quick equity that, in 2-3 years, you could have a business that's worth $100,000, $500,000 that you could sell to another practitioner and they could continue to run without any break in, from the patient experience. It's exactly the same thing. So this is huge. I think there's a massive opportunity. Detox is huge. It's only going to be more and more people who are going to find out that toxicity is affecting function. And I think that if you could start to develop a group program, I think that it'd be a great move for your practice.
You mentioned something there, James, about actually having group programs as a way to help sell your overall practice. And what I also was thinking about when you were speaking is when you have a name like Brooklyn Detox Challenge, you can do a joint venture, or you could partner up with other practitioners other lot businesses. Easier.
Yeah, exactly.
Because then they're looking at oh wow, so you're looking for ways that you could add value to my clients. That's great, and it's not branded all over the place with another practitioner, so they won't feel like they're going to get their clients taken away from them. So it's a much better way to position yourself for these programs in order to reach out to a greater community and partner with some other local businesses as well.
As another fine marketing entrepreneur from Britain said, Mr. Drayton Bird, he says, the positioning is more important than the copy. And I think that's so true. The positioning is everything. And what we will really be focusing on is helping you guys to position your practice, to position these type of things so that you can actually be really successful. So